What's up, real life traders? It's Robert Falco here, and Dan Jansen and I are bringing you another edition of the Real Life Earnings Report. All right, Dan, good afternoon. How are you doing today?
Doing all right, Robert Falco. Back again, hitting those earning seasons, and we're back with a familiar one today. I think this was the first one we talked about when we started doing the earnings calls. We're going to tackle Zoom again.
Yep, Zoom back over here in early September after a lot of us had sold pretty much everything and then rebought on some dips. But Zoom's been an exciting couple months, lots of up, a little bit of down as well. And today, let's pop over to their report. They absolutely crushed it. Their revenue, total revenue, $777.2 million, up 367% year over year. Now, a lot of their stuff is year over year in here, and I know it's a little bit tough to correlate that or this year's performance to last year because this was obviously pre-coronavirus. So, what do you think about the quarter? What are your thoughts on some of this comparisons to last year?
Yeah, the one thing I did notice is like you said, they're using the terminology year over year, which is going to include last quarter, which crushed it. So, if you're going to make anything sound better, use year over year pre coronavirus for a company that needed coronavirus to really have its breakout. That being said, if we are going quarter over quarter, they still crushed it. The earnings are there, the revenue, uh, unarguably still strong, and I think this is a play. I think coronavirus put Zoom on the map probably a lot sooner than it would have been, and I think we would have got there anyway. But I think a lot of companies, I know a few companies that are already um, closing down their corporate offices. I think Coca-Cola was actually one of them, where that's going to be probably the new norm for a lot of companies. And I don't think whether we get a vaccine or not, I don't think that's going to hurt Zoom because I think the companies have already paid for the plans. And if they are pushing more toward the stay at home, work from home, save on the rent for the office, and save costs on the company, then Zoom, I think, is something that they're going to keep the contracts for. So I think it's a strong company. I think it is definitely coming into its own a little bit as far as the pricing per stock. It's up just a large amount, but they are. They are quarter to quarter just still crushing it.
Yeah, big numbers. That 433,700 customers with more than 10 employees. Again, up 485% from same time year over year, this last fiscal year. But like you said, this transition probably would have happened anyway. It just over multiple years, it all got consolidated into this year. And so that explosive growth may not continue at the same pace, but they're still doing really, really well. There's almost 1,300 that are contributing more than 100,000 in trailing revenues, up 136%. I did notice that they do have some debt, which doesn't shock me too much. Before they had none, but if we come down here to their actual, where were we? Should be right in here. So current liabilities is showing 1.5 billion. Now some of this, I know we talked beforehand, is deferred revenue. So this is revenue that they'll realize later on down the road. But that doesn't really worry me too much that they are taking on some debt because again they're growing like a weed.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that, and I think even their forecast for the fourth quarter. They're showing. I think I saw somewhere between 806 million, 811 million. That's total revenue for the fiscal quarter for the fourth quarter for 2021. Um, they're still expecting growth. I think there's a certain point where Zoom can plateau, and I don't I just based on the earnings because everything looked good. The chart itself after the earnings came out and everything It did drop. I think it's down 5% after hours, which is pretty steep considering it's a $470 stock. But I think some kind of pullback on this is probably needed.
Yeah, again, the pace that it was climbing at was just very, very steep. Yeah, over 120 billion in valuation. Again, it's growing extremely, extremely fast, but I think a lot of that might be priced in already, is what it looks like. And we do have an interesting. It is a hammer candle, although it's a little bearish, and we're gapping below that hammer today. But we do still, or after hours, we do still have all these moving averages in here. It did bounce off the 100, which is nice, and they did provide relatively strong guidance. I think that could have been one thing that really slammed them if they had to decrease guidance for any reason. So I think some healthy sideways action or a little more of a retrace and chop around is probably warranted before we go screaming back towards the prior high up here around like 589, 590. I don't think that we get back there anytime soon. But you never know. This market is extremely, extremely bullish right now.
Yeah, I think if we want to do some kind of quick chart analysis on the daily chart for it, we did say on the last call we were going over it before we jumped on to record this, but we did say it had that massive gap. The gap we thought was not getting filled. So far, it has not. It made strong effort to do so. And then recently, it looks like there is some kind of double bottom on the daily. We are kind of moving higher off that. So I would say probably, I do like Zoom as a play, something to possibly hold in my portfolio. I would like a little bit of a better price than even where it's at after hours for right now. So I'd probably personally be looking at like the 425 range. If we get to 425, I think that's a good spot to start pyramiding in.
Yeah, back
Somewhere
towards
in
the
that zone.
neckline of that double bottom.
Yeah, I think that would be an appropriate price to wait for. It is still growing. It's still a good company. It just so over. It went too far too quick. I think.
Yeah, and again, I know if we go over to FinViz, like this information is not up to date. I don't think, 'cause I have the free version of FinViz, but prior to this earning release, trading at 95 times price to sales, is just absolutely massive. So even with the increase in their revenue, this is still going to be a really, really big number. And again, 128 billion in market cap. It's a big boy. It's not small. It's got a lot of growing to still do, but the market cap, already reflecting a lot of that growth. I think just because, as you mentioned, a lot of the acceleration to more of a virtual environment that would have happened over years took place really quick. I don't think even after vaccine and everything that we're going to be all going back to offices all the time. I think companies have realized, hey, it's a lot cheaper to do some Zoom calls than it is to fly people around and pay for hotels. And then they're going out having nice dinners, maybe having a drink on the company dime. There's a lot of costs for business travel that they can avoid with Zoom, and now it's socially acceptable.
Yeah, I think too. If I mean, what I'm shocked about is not so much Zoom; it's the fact that Google, companies like Amazon, they're not really competing with Zoom yet. I think just with the customer base, the amount of users that use all the big boys like Amazon, Google, even Microsoft, things like that, and Microsoft has something similar to it, not quite. I think Zoom is still in a kind of league of its own as far as the capabilities of what it does. That Microsoft doesn't quite offer it, but I'm surprised that there's not more an aggressive play competition wise for this space yet.
Yeah, really the most comparable thing I think is WebEx from Cisco. More of the governments and that those kind of like federal and state governments, local governments use WebEx versus Zoom. I know Zoom had some like security issues, but I think that they've worked most of that stuff out. And as you mentioned, like Microsoft with Skype, they had a big opportunity that they kind of dropped the ball on it. Obviously, Microsoft was attacking work pretty heavily with Teams, but I do think that Zoom could get some competition, from a Microsoft. It's just about, does Zoom get enough penetration into the marketplace, so much so that Microsoft has a hard time even competing just because everyone's locked into Zoom. Zoom has become a verb somewhat.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody's zooming, and then everyone's starting to get caught getting in trouble on Zoom too.
Yeah.
You gotta hit that pause button.
Definitely make sure that you know how to pause the screen share and when your camera is on or off. That is definitely a good idea. I think that that was that this pullback right here? I think that was this pullback right here. The good old Zoom was this pullback.
Yeah, I think it was probably around that range. Yeah, I think too. I mean, so this video probably when it gets released, and some of you guys might, depending on when you guys hear it, what would your outlook be for probably the next week, or is there a certain price that you're looking to buy it, or bigger drops?
For me, the lower the better. I do think that like where you were targeting this 420 to 430 area. If I was pyramid, I would pyramid into this. I wouldn't buy it all at once. But if I was pyramiding in, that is where I would start. And then I think my like final ad would be at this gap fill. If it does fill, I don't know that it does. You're correct. We were accurate with this gap wasn't going to fill. It tried, but didn't actually get there. So I'd probably do some type of pyramid with 3 or 4 entries and have my final pyramid in down there. It just depends on how large of a portfolio, how large of your portfolio you want this to be, and I just wouldn't expect the same type of growth continuing. I mean, 2020, this thing has gone up, and even to where we're at right now, over 500%. So I wouldn't expect another 500% growth. Even if it did, 20, 30, or 40%, that's still phenomenal growth from here.
Yeah, I will say I was wrong on this one before. So back when it was like 120, I thought it was completely overvalued. How wrong I was.
Yep. Yeah, we definitely missed that boat. So that's Zoom again. I know it's been a little bit since we had an earnings review out with the holidays and everything. Hope everyone had a fantastic Thanksgiving and started their holiday season out there. Hope you're all staying safe. Don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Check us out over at Real Life Trading. That's all I have for you, Dan. Any last words?
Absolutely. Yeah, make sure you guys head to Real Life Trading. There is a lot of cool classes, things like that we're preparing for next year. I believe it's December 12th. We're having a live summit with just a whole wealth of knowledge, absolutely free. You guys could sign up, attend the summit coming up. We do have the Nashville retreat, not Nashville retreat. We got the North Carolina retreat beginning of January. So that's cool. And if you want to slow down actually on that page that you were just at, we do have a lot of mentor groups that are still live. So you guys can sign up. There's a couple slots left. Get one-on-one training. Looks like Matt DeLong has a few slots left as well. He's incredible as far as swing trading. Stephen King, good for options. Johnny Guarco, great for the beginners. Back trading, intro to options. So there's definitely some slots. They would be 8-week classes, so make sure you guys check those out. If you're watching this video much later, continue to check out the website. We do update it, but definitely preparing for next year. We only got one more month left of this year, and we're setting up for a huge 2021. So I'm pumped about it. Now's the time to kind of prepare for next year.
And if you check out the main page on the site right now, there's Black Friday deals. By the time you all see this, that won't be there. But here's what Dan was talking about, the upcoming events. So check that out. RSVP. If you want to hang out with Dan in Philly, you might have to get a coronavirus test before you pop in there. But yeah, so thanks so much, everybody. We'll be back with Salesforce, I think, tomorrow. And then, yeah, thanks so much. Have a great rest of your trading week.
Take it easy, guys.